Thank God for pain. Don't misunderstand, I'm not inviting it or pursuing it, but there are redeeming benefits of it. Think of the people in your life that you really respect. Think of the people whose stories you admire, whose character you can't help but compliment. I guarantee you that there is at least one thing that each of these people have in common: pain. A season of significant struggle or a deep difficulty that helped forge them, make them into the person you applaud. Everyone wants to live an interesting story, to be a tale worth telling, but we are so quick to overlook the necessity of struggle in writing, in becoming a truly interesting, deeply riveting, profoundly beautiful story. John Roberts, Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, recently mused on the power of difficulties to forge greater qualities in us. He said that those who know the importance of loyalty have felt the sting of betrayal. The ones who are the best listeners know the pain of being ignored. The ones who make the best friends are the ones who've lived in loneliness. The ones that value justice have at some point received unfair treatment. The ones that are the most generous, chances are they know what it's like to go without. The people we all want to be like tend to have experienced the things we all try to avoid. Thank God for pain. Again, I don't think we should pursue it. That's not the point. But I also don't think we should be afraid of it or angry when we experience it. There are redeeming benefits of it. As Joni Eareckson Tada once said, sometimes God in his mystery allows what he hates in order to accomplish what he loves. You're in the midst of an interesting story, and perhaps you're being made better, a bit stronger, more generous, more just and compassionate as a result of it. Identity politics. It's a phrase used to describe the growing trend in American culture of forming political alliances based on specific and often deeply cherished identifying characteristics of different social groups. In other words, it's politics defined and driven by the things that we are so easily tempted to think are the most important parts of ourselves: our race, our sexuality, our gender, religion. The result of identity politics is that it encourages people to be driven into 1,000 different, deeply passionate subgroups, each of which is then pandered to by politicians. Politicians who tell each group the same thing: your issues are most important. Your freedoms are most greatly threatened. Your way of life has to be protected. Your greatest enemy is one of those other groups, and I'm the only one who can protect you. Sound familiar? There are lots of problems with identity politics, but the biggest one is this: it renders compromise, which is critical to good government, impossible. When our politics become tied to key issues of identity, then to compromise with some other group on some critical issue suddenly becomes a threat to myself, a threat to my security, my well-being, and my worth. In identity politics, to dialogue with the other side is to flirt with self-destruction. That's what it feels like, anyway. But it gets worse. If every idea or policy that doesn't protect my political alliance is suddenly seen as a threat to me, then it justifies me. It makes it okay for me in demonizing and delegitimizing anyone who disagrees with me, to see them as an enemy who needs to be stopped, restrained, punished, or put down. And once I'm justified in demonizing the other group, I'm then empowered to disenfranchise that group, to limit their rights, to silence their voice. Ironically, I become the kind of threat to others that the politicians swore everybody else was to me. So what's the remedy? I don't know. But I do know this: people of faith have reason to rise above. There's freedom in believing that your identity is anchored to something bigger than race, gender, sexuality, or even the particulars of your religious practice. There's power in believing that our wholeness, our well-being, our security has nothing to do with what we do, but is tied to something that's been done to us, that's been given to us, something that's already been accomplished and finished by someone greater than us. There's freedom and beauty in believing that our ultimate well-being can't be threatened by any person who lives differently or pandered to by any politician who speaks winsomely. There's freedom to dialogue, to compromise, to work together for the common good in our politics, for those whose joy, whose hope, whose peace cannot be shaken, stirred, or stolen by politics.